Ta-da! All right. I'm a little late because I have a little man at home today who is sick because, school starts and everybody be sharing germs. So, um, luckily, nothing too severe, but enough to be in pain, feel miserable, want to lay down, and all that good jazz. Doing a little bit better today, but definitely wanting to. We're being cautious because yesterday kicked his booty. Hey, blueberry. So yeah, that was So if you hear a whole bunch of stuff, he's got his TV going upstairs. He's got, he's trying to play. Like he gets his little spurts of energy and then he's like down and out again. So anywho's, alrighty. So here we go. Um, oh, I put, hold on, what did um, give me just 2 seconds. I was gonna, yeah, what was okay, let me cancel that. Okay. Sorry, I was just, uh, right? Little man, he's killing me. But these kids are, they love sharing germs with each other. It's like, man, we just started. I was like, okay, so we're getting it out of the way and we won't be sick again this year, correct? Correct. Fingers crossed. Anyways, so what I got before coming on, hello, was what's next? So it's giving me kind of like there's like give me the next step, but sometimes things aren't steps, they're not necessarily for you to, how do I put it? Do anything. This feels more like when you get a download and you kind of get the gist of things, like you have a gist of how a process, thank you, like a process, like a workflow or how something's supposed to flow, but you don't necessarily know all the nuances and the steps and details. So I kind of feel like we're asking where in the workflow are we rather than what um the detailed steps are. That's how it's coming across to me. Now, whether we get any detail or not, we will ask. But it's kind of like, okay, it's almost as if it's like certain things have occurred and you're like, okay, where are we going? Where are we heading next with this? And it feels like somebody's being really open with it so as to not like kind of place parameters or limitations on how something's supposed to develop. And so it feels very open-ended in general in nature. That doesn't mean that we're not going to try to get details. But that's the energy that somebody's in, at least, which I think is a really great energy to be in, because you really are open to however this, like, like whatever is, there's no resistance basically. I'm like, okay, what's next? So, let's see here. They want Sacred Traveler's Oracle, right? Well, and that's what here's the thing with little man. He comes home Sunday and he's like, so little man has siblings that are way older on the other side of the family, right? Like 27. Like they're having kids of their own, right? He came along like, way after anyone thought. Anyways, so he's got sisters and stuff like that that are having kids, and so he's an uncle at his tiny little age. He became an uncle at like 5, and so while they play like cousins, so there's this one of them was sick on he said on Friday, or at least he heard that they were sick, kind of thing, and so he's thinking like Sunday he's thinking he's sick and what. All right. And I'm like, well, I was like, honey, it's allergy season. August always kicks our butt because you got everything from the goldenrods to other things like just popping up and whatnot. And then you got this stupid weather that wants to be like a heat dome and excessive moisture in the air. And like you can't dry out your friggin' house. And all the allergens kind of like stay stuck, right? So we just got some rain, which helps to clear some of that junk out of the air. But like it's just ugh. And then he has like little pox type symptoms and stuff like that, dysautonomia. And so with the heat comes those things. And so like I'm like, honey, it's probably just allergies. You know what I mean? And we get through the first day and a half, and it's still looking like it's probably allergies and all that kind of stuff. And then whammy, yesterday he starts running a fever. And I was like, oh, for crying out loud. So, So that's where I really thought it was just allergies there for a bit. But no, it's a full-on virus. I was like, isn't that lovely? So then I spent the day disinfecting. Just telling you my life story here, guys. That's all. Okay, let's see what's here. What do they want me to do with this deck? Okay. You're a beacon for others, a wise leader. And that's what I thought because, he was headache, sore throat, all the sniffles, and then a fever. So I was actually thinking because I know that there's a strain of COVID right now where it's like it actually presents like that. And then he got a little nauseous. Again, he's got like dysautonomia, which can happen and it can be exacerbated by being sick. And so, um, anywho's, so I was thinking, oh man, like strep, COVID, that kind of stuff. And they're like, no, good old rhinovirus there. But you know how it is. Like one time a cold can be nothing but mild, and the next time it can kick your butt like it's the flu. So unfortunately, this one's it was kicking his butt. He's still kind of, I was like, keep it to yourself, baby. Keep it to yourself, please. Fingers crossed. What is going on here? Why is it wanted to come out? I know y'all saw that. So there's a bit of like, they're giving me something in the way of like what's happening, kind of mirroring at all levels. We talk about this frequently, where we've got the micro, meso, macro, meta levels. And it feels as though something's happening at like a macro level, but is also kind of like mirrored or reflected or happening at a micro level. So there's like what's happening societally is also showing up in very personal ways. Um, very general way of explaining it, like a cycle wrapping up. Like that can happen on a societal level, but you're also experiencing it on a very macro personal level, right? So that's kind of like what they're giving me is that you might see some similarities or mirroring with what's happening on a larger scale, but also feeling like and that doesn't mean like, oh, there's a massive unemployment happening and then you lose your job. Um, But, it could, but it doesn't mean identical. When we're talking about things being echoed through each level, it doesn't mean that what's happening at the macro level directly affects you. It just means that the process, like what's evolving and happening on a larger, grander scale is also happening very personally. So sometimes I can read for the personal, for the individual, and it sounds like I'm talking about society. Or I can sometimes give a massive collective read about what I think is going to happen globally, and it can almost sound like something that's meant for you very specifically. So it is something along those lines, is what they're giving me, where it's like you may feel, how like sometimes we say reality mimics fiction, and like it's kind of like that, where you're like, you notice the similarities, is what I want to say. Breaking trail. A breakthrough is at hand. Breaking trail also gives me kind of like this sense of, along with wise leader, is um, go your own way. Like we talk about it, where you're riding with spirit. Spirit is your co-creator. Spirit has the map, and it's kind of like you can go somebody else's trail, but the way that you're meant to go is kind of like creating your own path rather than something that's already been pre-established for you. Travel lightly, simplify your life. Okie dokie. Definitely some level of transition that's about to happen where because we got a bunch of junk put into the trash. It's like that it's unnecessary, unneeded. And the more you remove the unnecessary and unneeded and simplify things, the easier it is going to be, right? Um, a breakthrough is at hand. You get to step into some kind of leadership, which means you're creating your own path. And you're gonna need to travel lightly. Where do you want to go with this? Spirit? Mm. I feel like there may be some for whatever persons I am speaking to. There's gonna be a lot of commentary from people speaking out about depending on where you live, whatever country, whatever part of a country, like things may be happening again societally, and a lot of people are going to have something to say about it and have advice and input. And so there may be this greater conversation where it feels as though whether it's on the news, on social media, everybody's kind of like echoing one another, right? But there's always the things that people don't say out and outright. They don't name the elephant in the room, or they all kind of have the same talking points, and everybody's getting the same advice. And it's like this cookie cutter way of dealing with, approaching, or seeing how like something that's unraveling on a larger scale. And it's almost like going against the grain of what everybody else is saying because you see beyond the obvious, is what I want to say. People kind of like get hooked into one particular aspect and like they kind of like browbeat it, right? Like they work it into the ground and they don't explore and look at something holistically. And so while other people are like over here focusing on this, you're going to shift and focus over here. It does. So like when you do that, people are going to look at you. Um Especially if you do speak out and try to bring attention to something else. And the way that it's feeling is that maybe you don't want and here this is going to sound weird. Don't offer your perspective up to everybody is the way that it's coming across. The people who will take you seriously or want your opinion, want your input, or see what you're doing and want to, what I mean? Like they will somehow make themselves available to you. Um, it kind of feels like it's the idea of like moving in silence or kind of staying under the radar because not that I feel like anybody here is like whoever I'm reading for is going to be easily influenced by what is said. But I feel like Spirit is saying what you see is not meant for everybody, is not meant to be. It almost feels as though, like, by calling it out on a large scale, it disrupts your ability to execute something. It disrupts your ability or others, like the smaller group within the collective, to maneuver in a certain way. Akin to too many people seeing something and something gets watered down, and then all opportunities at something get washed away. is kind of the analogy they're giving me. Because when you voice something to the larger group, um, they will interpret it in their own manner, and the actions that they take can create such a muck. Like they will never. It feels like they will never go along or adopt or see something from the way that you see it, but they will take it, twist it, and not demonize it, but like dirty it up. Okay, that's the phone's going off, so that's a sorry. That's an indicator. So and like perverse it, right? And make it their own. And in doing so, something about the actions that they take will actually eliminate the possibilities or make it more difficult for the others who see something very clearly. And so the idea is they're never gonna see it anyways. So it's not like you're leaving somebody behind. Yes, twist it to fit their own agenda, their own perceptions and desires to kind of fit them and their needs and wants. And so in doing so, it feels like they're never going to see it from your perspective, and whatever you have to offer, they will never like go that particular direction and benefit from it because they'll never see it through to the end anyways. And so by not sharing it widely, you're not like, "Oh, but people need to know this or people need it." Like, no, actually they don't because again, it's net like whatever you have to say is never going to benefit them anyways. So what you're seeing is meant for a smaller collective, a smaller group within, because they too, like I said, there's a myriad of ways of going about something. The collective is only seeing a couple, and they harp on, but like, so what you bring, somebody else has like another puzzle piece and another. So the smaller collective will be able to create a more holistic understanding, perspective, and see something clearer on how to execute something because it's almost like everybody comes with a little answer to, right? That complements one another. So, but I will say, whoever I'm talking to, what you see and your perspective and the way that you see through something and to something, um, you act as like, and we talked about this yesterday. Remember, there was something about like a central person on like as pulling in other energies. There was the Queen of Wands in our live yesterday, and like there's something about them that's pulling people, like pulling others in, and like there's this community that's meant to be formed from some kind of like understanding and things like that. Um, and I think with the simplify your life is what they're talking about, where they're like, you will overcomplicate a situation, circumstances, paths, everything if you try to get buy-in from everybody. It's just not going to happen. Those that are pulled to you because of your light, because of whatever it is that you're emanating, because of the truth that you're speaking, are the ones that are meant to be a part of this. But if you concern yourself with convincing or reaching everybody, you miss the plot, basically. And things will not develop, go, or pan out in some kind of way, the way that it should for you. Let's put it that way. So simplifying your life is like when people are naturally drawn to you, like I feel like it's like people will either observe, notice, hear something, or naturally feel drawn to kind of like give you a perspective, but it's not there's something about not sharing it on a larger scale. Um, but people will know. You know how like you don't say something out and outright, but they can tell through your mannerisms, through some of the other little things that you say, through like there's just or they just know this about you. They know to go to you with something. Like there's this thing where like you pull people in. So that's where you are a beacon for others, right? Um Again, if you go on the larger scale, people will see you as a light and they'll want to snuff it out because they want to be the light. Everybody wants to have the quote unquote answer, and not everybody does. So there's going to be a whole lot of talking, a whole lot of whatever. Um, and if you feel as if, like, if you feel frustration as a result of people not listening, or like you being able to see something that the others can't, and it infuriates you, that's a sign that they're not supposed to. It's almost like there's resistance there that you're picking up on, that you need to honor, if that makes sense. So they will. Agreed, David. Let's see here. So so it does, in a sense, you act as a beacon, and like moths, you will pull things in, people, circumstances, situations into you, um, that are appropriate for you. Again, even then, moths are attracted to the front. Like the idea that you may still bring in some energies, um, that are not in congruence with you and what you're doing and what you're seeing, but they will not. It will not reach the level of interference and muddling as if you tried to get people collectively to understand. So, and again, I'm feeling like they're like I said earlier, like this sounds very macro level, you know, like it could be regional, countrywide, like uh societally, but this also seems to be reflected in a situation and circumstance on a very personal level as well. Pertinent to an individual. So, and not to say that there's obviously shared energy there, because right now it's like what's happening here is also happening interdimensionally, like some people will say it like that. Like what's happening in the world today is affecting every level. Uh so just take that how you would like. So yes, there is some connectedness between, what's happening on a grander scale and what's happening personally. It's very reflective of one another. Um, okay, so where are we gonna pull? How do we want to go with this? I'm doing a lot of channeling right now, guys. And y'all can't even see that. I guess I should have pulled it closer. Let's go with the breaking trail. A breakthrough is at hand. What does that actually look like and mean? If Because again, you're not concerned, right, with reaching a large scale or influencing everybody in a situation or whatever, just the right people. So, what does that look like when the breakthrough look like with that? I'm gonna use Azathoth Tarot. Page of Swords, or I mean, Knight of Swords. Lord of mercy, I'll get it together. Knight of Swords. Judgment. And in this one, it's called the Last Judgment, not just Judgment. Like the final call, final decision, some finality to something. Which mimics the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords is irrevocable change, the cutting loose of something. Part of that may be the expectation to impact a larger people on a larger scale. Now I'm going with the wise leader, mimicking the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords has that eagle eye view. She sees things, she pulls out from something and sees the greater perspective, can see a situation in totality, which really allows her, again, from eagle eye view, to kind of see the next however many steps ahead, right? Instead of being like the hermit where you're embedded in a particular situation, there's this idea of conceptually understanding something and being able to kind of like visualize what's happening and how something's going to unfold, again, which is what gives you a different perspective than the larger collective, or the people on a larger scale. So you're seeing more of the intricacies, and because of your ability to not kind of like get lost in a particular detail. Queen of Swords is seeing a greater truth of a situation. And there's something to be said about, some people may be focusing on like the first 5 steps of something, but you can see something for, say, 100 steps. Like in chess, it does feel that way, where like some of the greatest chess players can see 34 moves ahead. They see, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like you can anticipate something that others feel like they need to focus on a particular detail. They're like, why are we going to think about that when we can't even get past this? But you realize that in understanding the other steps, that this particular detail may not be important, because it acts as a deterrence and a delay, and you can find a detour around. So it to me feels a little bit like, like when you're taking these big tests, right? SAT, ACT, things like that, where they tell you you shouldn't spend more than, say, 1 minute on a question, because it delays you then for all the other steps and in other ways. And they'll tell you like skip it and come back to it later, kind of thing. If it's really, you'll find out if it's really necessary. Sometimes coming back isn't necessary, because the next 100 questions you get boom, 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 and your score is excellent. So it's the idea that some people, like the devil's in the details, they're getting tripped up on something, they're hyper focusing on details that you realize, because you get the greater view, are like a decoy, unnecessary. Um, I don't know why I say this, but like I'm getting the feeling that some people get tripped up on those details and want to hyper focus on that, because that makes them feel successful at solving something, because they're not capable of the intricacies that would go after that. Does it make sense? It's almost like something becomes more intricate and more involved the further along you go. And so they'll stay at a level that allows them to feel successful. Something about what the greater view feels overwhelming and too complicated, but really isn't for whoever I am reading for. Um, it may feel large to you, but it feels very, very clear. I don't know how to explain that. Very, like it's Anyways, which takes a weight off. When you know and understand the next 100 steps, something doesn't feel so like a weight of the world. It's just something to be tackled then, is the way that I'm like, and you know the best thing to do is not get tripped up on this, is to keep moving forward. It is to keep chugging forward. You know what I mean? Um, and it doesn't I know this sounds really weird. It's like something doesn't feel so far off, even though your view can see like 100 steps ahead. Literally the clarity just makes it feel like, if you're lost in a forest, right? And it's dusk out or it's dark and you can't see the path forward. You may feel like you are like it's an ever-ending, too complicated, can't really make it through. It becomes a burden, overwhelming, right? But when it's daylight and you see the trail perfectly, all you got to do is stick to that trail and you're going to get out there just fine. So seeing something for what it is, um, it feels like a no-brainer to you. Page of Pentacles is so, it's eliminating, again, simplifying, traveling lightly, quit trying to reach some of these people, quit trying to bring them along with you, quit trying to convince them, quit trying to show them, quit trying to like I feel as if you will pull in the people that are necessary. That doesn't mean that you do not impact or show a large number of people, but the burden you are placing yourself in by trying to have everybody buy into something, that's you getting wrapped up in a detail. Fuck that detail, move forward. So that's cutting, and so it almost pushes you in an opposite trajectory. Okay. So you were kind of going this way, same as the group. It's like group think. And then you're like, nope, and you pivot away from it. And in doing so, naturally, a lot of those connections and a lot of that weight falls off. Okay. There's something about that when you make that decision though, it has a finality to it. It's kind of like once you choose to go on a particular path, you're on that path. Like once you choose to do this and quit concerning yourself with convincing and everything else like that, you're gonna be seen as somebody who broke off, somebody who is not a part of the greater collective kind of thing, and that's perfectly fine. I don't feel like being targeted in any way, but it's almost like you will fall off of other people's radar, but also show up on o other people's radar, which is where you need to be. So you fall off of a certain like this again, there's just something about when you get wrapped up in the greater, larger group, the the it keeps you stuck. It's time to break free. You will connect with the right individuals, and they each will have something to bring to this. Um, there's something about they too are looking for people that see something that they're seeing. They get a piece of this, and so they may be blindly looking for anybody else that kind of um has this different perspective and isn't wrapped up in seeing something a particular way. And as soon as they see you, there's something like when they connect with you, they realize there's something about you that pulls the others that they've been seeking in as well. Um, so there's that. Page of Pentacles does just feels like this does lead you on a completely different path. Um, so if you feel like, hey, if I break free, then this thing that I'm trying to show everybody I'm no longer be a part of? Yes and no. What you see, what you know, what you understand that they do not, you're carrying with you in a different way. It does appear like it's taking on a completely different course. It is to a certain extent, but it's almost like, you know how like sometimes people who have, it's like cutting the line. You get to cut the line. It's the detour. You get to cut the line. Um, you're going to get further than whoever this greater, larger group is. Okay. Um, again, you're seeing things and you have an idea of what to cut out. And you don't allow certain emotions. Like when you see something so perfectly clear, like like even when spirit tells you something and you don't question it, have you noticed that you just know? And and that's what the Queen of Swords is. You just know, and by doing that, emotions don't get in the way, fear doesn't rear its ugly head. All these other things that can derail you and create chaos are not present because you see something so very clearly, you just know, and you move in that manner. That's also part of why it's such a clear path. I love you, Terry. Okie dokie. Something's gonna grow. We have the Page of Cups, and I have to cover up the tatas. With the Page of Cups, there's always a surprise to it. Something starts off very innocently and kind of like just uh, not really. It doesn't. It's small, right? It's small potatoes. I don't know if anybody has. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to like ruin anything. So cover your ears if you haven't seen Spider-Man. Okay, the newest Spider-Man. Um, but there's big potatoes and then there's small potatoes. Something seems like small potatoes, but it becomes something more. So the analogy is like, like this is like where something initiates. So kind of like something like how something can begin as a friendship and then develops into something more like a relationship. It starts out innocuous, small potatoes, and it's going to grow to big potatoes. What is it, David? We need to start up the group. Oh yeah, right. Um, Queen of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles, Three of Cups, Five of Cups. You have, like, you are capable as is what I want to say. Well, Queen of Pentacles is the idea of right level of mastery and capacity within oneself to be this wise leader. Um, to be like this beacon that pulls people in, to kind of like initiate. That's what this is. Initiate something. This breakthrough is the idea that you break free, you're traveling lightly, you're choosing not to go with the larger group of whatevers. You kind of maybe go your own way. You're saying things and seeing things that others aren't. And some people may be very dismissive of you as a result because everybody else is saying we need to think about this, this, and this. You know what I mean? Or others believe this is the thing to focus on, and you're just like, mm-mm. And so again, it initiates. It starts. That's the breakthrough is where you make the choice, you break free, you set out on this path, you see things, you have clarity, and the level of clarity that you have allows you to feel like you're moving freely. Like you're like, you know what? I know exactly what to do, and you're just on point. It initiates. Seems small potato at first. Um, but and you very well think they're giving this, you very well may think when you break free and you start taking a different trajectory and you pull away from group think or whatever this is, that you're kind of like going rogue and by yourself. Um, that's why it feels small potatoes. But very shortly, you're going to be making new connections, new networks, you know what I mean? Like things start coming in, and you're going to realize that you, and I feel like saying a group of others will end up, and I want you to be very liberal with this term. Okay? Don't try to make it mean one definition. But there's a movement. And that could just be a change in business plan, a change in, like the way something's going to unfold. Like, I don't know what circumstance or situation where you're breaking free and you're not going along with the greater collective, and and suddenly other people that see what you're seeing or aspects of what you're seeing, and it's like everybody comes together. There's this cohesive puzzle. Um, Again, you start a, like the bits and pieces come together the more you distance yourself from whatever this other thing is, right? And it's natural. There's something about when we talk about the Queen of Pentacles where she can just do it all. Like she manages this and does this and blah 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 blah. And we're like, how does she do it? It comes very naturally. It doesn't mean that skills haven't been learned over time, but her ability to wield all of it and hold all of it just seems to come naturally, right? She's the right one to nurture this movement, this, and it's considered a movement because it's bringing pieces together to go in a trajectory that's separate from the larger whatever thing at play, that ends up taking a life of its own and setting course, right? Five of Pentacles. There is, I guess, worry about this. When you break from the status quo and the larger group at play, then like you said, like sometimes feel like you got a target on your back as a result. Some people won't like it. But more importantly, it's not a target of like, I'm going to come after you. Cause again, you just kind of fall off. It's the lack of support. There's something, that's why some people, when they get stuck on that detail and they notice that everybody else is over here, it's kind of like, I'm safer in this larger, you know what I mean? Like it feels like there's a safety net there when there really is not actually. When that many people, they're showing me something like when that many people can come together like that, it's easier to take out larger number of people when they're gathered in one spot. Uh, that's a bit of a morbid analogy, but it's kind of like you're not actually safer. That's not a guarantee of your safety or security or anything else like that. Um, so again, you lack. It's like also when you're a part of the group think, other people kind of go to bat for you, and it's like you feel supported in other ways, right? This feels very naked, vulnerable, without, again, there's just some kind of like without a safety net. Um And I almost wanna say there's a risk, but there's not. Like, I really am getting there's not. And you see something clearly. Because I feel like what happens is the people that come together, you're going from 5 of Pentacles, which is the lack, to the 3 of Cups, the abundance. They're also showing me when you stay stuck where everybody else is, they're giving me the analogy of like um, little resources having to be spread thin across a greater number of people. So there's just something that in staying stuck like the other people puts you in the place of being a sitting duck. Um, so traditional thinking, being very pragmatic and logical, the way that society would program us is kind of like that being the rogue solo person going off somewhere or the smaller group makes you more vulnerable to bad things happening, but it's actually the thing that creates it's like the smaller group creates some level of abundance and sustenance. Um, and for whatever reason, it's this particular 5 of Cups is the disappointment card. So there is a level of, I think, disappointment experienced within you because you realize, like, the 3 cups represents the current circumstances, the environment in which you right? And so all of these are spilled. It's like, staying in that was not, you knew it wasn't the right option. But leaving people behind or leaving a situation and knowing how many people are unaware or do not want to be unaware kind of creates a level of disappointment because other people, they're over here still studying those 3 cups while you've already seen the other 2 and you've done taken off. So it's one of those things where it's like, is the feeling of people get left behind. Um, and may I say there's a slight, not to sound, like I am trying to start some shit, okay? Not to piss anybody off, but there's a little bit of Captain Save-A-Ho mentality there, where it's like you want to save everybody, and I'm not saying that in the end, these individuals that are left in whatever addressing something in one particular way and getting stuck, right? Um, won't receive something or like they're just so left behind that they're going to get whatever. However, um, you know, here's another analogy. Like they tell you if when you're rock climbing, if somebody starts to fall or slide down or lose footing, you can't pull them up while you're still trying to climb up. Okay. It's better for you to get to the top and then reach down because you're at a more secure position. And in doing so, there's something about like others losing footing or getting lost in the sauce. And when you get to the place where you need to be, you just know what that's going to mean, right? I can't tell you what this means within a workplace. It could be something where people lose their jobs as a result. And it's like, if you'd have just listened to me, but the idea is it wouldn't have ended up being what it needed to be if everybody was a participant in it, because everybody putting in their 2 cents would have diluted the thing, right? Um, it's the energy that it never was going to be everybody making it to the end or making it to a particular place or getting to a particular spot. And so, in trying to quote unquote take everybody with you, nobody would get there. Again, you draw people in. There are other people looking for individuals like themselves. Um, but something about your position and who you are stands out and naturally draws them to you. Again, w- something about that's why you're important in this scenario. And they're trying to encourage you to do what you know is right, to be the leader, because to be a leader does not mean that everybody follows. That's the thing that you need to remember. You create your own path that others can if they so choose, but you don't carry everybody on your back. Um, and somebody has to pioneer this path, right? So if you are concerned with fitting in and not standing out or carrying everybody with you, you are not going to have this breakthrough. And dare I say, um, it will impact those that are supposed to find you. And in yesterday's reading, it was like every aspect, every person in the situation is important. And so if one does if one of them is gone, none of them move forward kind of thing. So there is this piece of especially whoever was and again, gender doesn't matter. The Queen of Wands is the beacon that pulls things together, right? Plans were rearranged. If you resonate at all with this, you might want to go back to yesterday's live. You have to go under the live readings. And I think they're also yesterday was like a coffee and tarot, so it might be listed under coffee and tarot. And rewatch that. So if you were here yesterday and it didn't resonate, but today's is resonating, you might want to go back. May want to go back, okay? Because something might land. All right, let's see here. Hermetic tarot, and then we'll be able to well, yeah. So the star is about like the old analogy of like following the North Star home, right? It is about being guided and being on the right path. It is about the enlightenment process and seeing something. And so when we say you're the leader, you basically initiate. And there will be those who understand to follow the North Star. That is, like the idea of like, remember when it's completely pitch black out and like they can't find their way? And I was like, but during the daylight, the path is completely clear. There is something about using you as a reference point or as a person, place, or whatever to anchor into. Again, doesn't mean that in totality you carry the weight, but people are going, you are the pinpoint that pulls everything together. Um, so you're acting as again, it's like watching somebody break off from the group and you're like, wait a minute, like I've been trying to find somebody to break away from the group with too. I'm coming after. I'm like, they follow suit. They connect. um as is, those that will come together feel because Five of Swords, there's this sense of like conflict of perspective in regards to something. And that's the recipe for defeat. Um, Knight of Wands is a very shit or get off the pot energy. It is the now is the time. I see things clearly. I'm moving another trajectory. I am not hesitating. And that's the biggest thing. So you there is an abruptness to you no longer trying or no breaking free or moving away from, but you are seen in a very wise light. The hermit is somebody who's very wise, but in this deck is called the voice of light. So in some level of an abrupt pull away from this, like you pull away from some kind of conflict. Again, there's something about when everybody's harping on and wrapped up in and there's something that everybody's getting stuck on it. They don't move beyond it, and you're like, you may have tried to say something. Again, call the elephant out in the room, and nobody's listening. People are fighting against it because no, this is the important part, and you're like, we can't spend time. Let's move around. Let's get beyond this. They're not going to, right? And so that's what as soon as you break free, that's what the Knight of Wands is. Um, it frees you again, it frees you from trying to funnel and direct what you're doing in the wrong direction to the wrong people. It's like you move in a new direction and whoever wants to follow along, they value, they see you as somebody who is intelligent, wise, they know that you can see something differently. And I've got a helicopter going overhead. I don't know if you can hear it. So and it's like if there's nobody to walk that trajectory with you just yet, then you go it alone. You will pull people in. Okay. Empress and the Fool. This is a very beneficial new beginning. It's a very beneficial risk that pays off. The Empress has scales that are balanced, well within deep within their feminine energy. So the intuitive, uh, having like an intuitive connection becomes very clear. Again, when you're not trying to appease or convince or show or shoulder other people, everything becomes clearer for you. We have the Phoenix down here. It's whatever is happening with the Five of Swords, things I dare I say will blossom, bloom, um, and you will experience a bounty that others will not. Again, at some point, this may make you feel disappointed, but everybody had the opportunity, same as you, to turn around and just take a look at those two cups and see that there was a way out, right? A way to move beyond. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. It is not your responsibility. You are not Captain Save a Ho. Don't even try. Okay, anything else? Ace of Pentacles. Something about how you're moving and the choices that you're making. Again, Ace of Pentacles comes. It is a new path, a new opportunity, potential growth, all of that. You're going to create a completely different structure. Again, whoever gets left behind and stuck in whatever situation they are in, um, will not get to partake in the creation of like some new structure. You will help bring something to life. This could be societally, like you're helping to pioneer um, a new business model. You're helping to pioneer a new way of structuring society. Um, the Hierophant is the idea of creating, like taking that which is high priestess, etheric, like in the field of possibilities, and bringing it into reality, right? That's why we tend to use like very religious figures to represent the Hierophant, is because religion is an attempt to create a structure external to you that reflects who you are internally, or that reflects the creation, the idea. Um, so it's bringing something to life external to you. I feel like I want to say something else about that. I keep hearing the word authority on that, and that's where of course, justice. It's those who choose to go down this path will be seen as the pioneers, the authority on something. I mean, like, more about in the realms of the wisdom and everything, right? Um, you will be a part of either making something right, or doing something right, or creating something um, of benefit. Like dare I want to say, like you're creating a. Here's the thing: if it's on a personal, you're creating a whole new social network, community, things like that. If this is in business, you create a whole model and framework that is just to all. Um, Ace of Pentacles is the seed that grows into the Ten of Pentacles. So all the potentiality and everything that's available starts with the Ace of Pentacles. Starts at the beginning of something. You are going to be a part of the creation of something new because you didn't get stuck in the details. Um, I hope this makes sense. I hope that this is something that you're able to transfer over to what you're experiencing. Um, there is a sense of like new life with this. And again, it starts out small potatoes, but it grows big. Um, I don't know. I guess that's whether or not you choose to step into that. Leadership is you being willing to break from, not carry the weight of everybody else, and go the direction and do the thing that you know that needs to be done without trying to get everybody's approval, everybody's buy-in, everybody to come along with you. It's almost like breaking away from and doing the thing anyways. How that applies to your situation, I don't know. So, um, alrighty. So I hope this finds whoever it is meant for. I hope everybody has a fantastic and wonderful day. And I will see you guys at the next reading.